There is no corner of the bass world where money evaporates faster than the pedal market. A bass costs you money once. Pedals cost you money forever, one seductive little box at a time, and the industry has perfected the art of selling them to you. Demo videos recorded in perfect studios, words like warmth and glue and mojo, and a $100 bill leaving your wallet every few weeks for a sound difference your bandmates will never ever notice. I have owned somewhere north of 40 pedals in my life. The number that actually survived onto my board is 4. Today I'm going to save you from the other 36. So here they are, 10 bass pedals and pedal types that you should never buy, or at least never buy the way everyone buys them. And because this channel never leaves you empty-handed, after the 10 traps I am going to give you the 3 pedals that genuinely do everything a bass player needs, one of which replaces an entire pedal board for about $100, and all 3 together cost less than one boutique pedal. Stay with me until number 10 because it is not even a pedal. It is the $10 mistake that quietly ruins every single pedal you already own, and almost every beginner board I have ever seen makes it. And number 6 is going to hurt because it is the most beautiful pedal category on earth, and for bass players, it is almost always money down the drain. A quick honest note before we start. The links below are plain product links, so you can find each one and compare prices yourself. No markup, no affiliate games. But I did build something for you, the complete buyer's guide, every goldmine and money trap from this channel, as one honest map you can take shopping. That's in the description too. Now let's get into it. Number 1. Guitar distortion pedals bought for bass. This is the first pedal trap almost everyone walks into, because the guitar player's pedal is right there. It is famous, and it sounds incredible on guitar. Then you plug your bass into it, and something horrible happens. Your low end vanishes. Guitar distortion circuits filter away exactly the frequencies your instrument lives on, and what comes out is a thin, buzzy shadow of your bass with no foundation underneath. Distortion on bass genuinely works, but it needs a circuit built for bass, and above all, it needs a blend control, so your clean low end stays underneath the dirt. If a dirt pedal has no blend knob and no bass in its name, walk away, no matter how good it sounded on 6 thin strings. Number 2, the one knob compressor. Compression is the most misunderstood effect in all of bass, and the industry exploits that beautifully. Beginners are told they need a compressor before they can even explain what one does, so they buy the cheapest one, a mysterious box with one knob and zero feedback about what is happening inside. The result? They crank it, the tone starts breathing and pumping, the attack disappears, and they either hate it and sell it, or worse, leave it on forever and wonder why their sound has no life. A compressor is a fantastic tool, but only when you can see and control what it does, with a blend knob, attack and release, and some kind of gain reduction indicator. A compressor with one knob is not a tool, it is a lottery ticket. Number 3, the bass exciter and enhancer pedal. These boxes promise to make your tone bigger, wider, more alive, more hi-fi. What they actually do is scoop your mids and boost the frequencies that sound impressive when you play alone in your bedroom. And here's the cruel joke we keep running into on this channel. The mid-range they scoop away is exactly where a bass lives in a band mix. So the pedal that makes you sound huge alone makes you disappear the moment the guitars come in. If you want your tone bigger, reach for the EQ on your amp and add low mids. That is the opposite of what the enhancer does. It costs nothing, and it works. Number 4, the no-name $100 Mega Multi-Effects board. You have seen these giant plastic boards from brands you have never heard of, 40 effects, expression pedal, drum machine, all for $99. The screen looks like a calculator from 1997, the switches feel like toys, and the noise floor hisses like a kettle. Every effect on it is technically there and practically unusable, and the whole thing ends up in a closet within 2 months. The tragedy is that a genuinely great bass multi-effects unit exists in this exact price range from real manufacturers. We will get to it in the worth it list, and it costs the same money. This trap is not about multi-effects being bad. It is about the difference between an instrument and a toy shaped like one. Number 5, the boutique clone at triple price. Some of the most hyped pedals in the bass world are, electrically, close relatives of much cheaper circuits, the same topology, similar components, a prettier box, hand-painted artwork, and a waiting list. And look, small builders deserve support, craftsmanship is real, and if the artwork brings you joy, that is a legitimate reason to spend money with open eyes. But if you are buying tone, not art, listen blind before you pay triple. In blind tests, the number of players who can reliably pick the boutique version out of a mix is, let's be generous, small. Pay for paint knowingly or do not pay for it at all. Number 6, and here is the one that hurts. The Ottawa and honestly most single-purpose funk novelty pedals. I know, it is the coolest demo in the shop. You slap 2 notes through an envelope filter and grin like an idiot. I did too. Then you take it home and reality arrives. It fits maybe one song in your band's set. It needs constant tweaking between basses, and after 2 weeks of fun, it becomes furniture. For working bassists who genuinely live in funk, an envelope filter is a legitimate voice. For everyone else, it is the most reliably resold pedal category on the used market, which, by the way, is exactly where you should buy one if you truly need it. Half price, barely used, thousands available. The used listings are full of other people's 2-week phases. Do not fund a new one. Number 7, the cheap octaver that cannot track. The octave down effect is glorious on bass, that fat synth-like growl underneath your line. So beginners buy the cheapest octaver on the shelf and discover the ugly secret. Cheap analog octave circuits fall apart on exactly the notes bass players want them for. Below a certain pitch, the tracking glitches, warbles, and stutters, and on chords it simply gives up. A good octaver that tracks cleanly down low is one of the few effects genuinely worth real money on bass. A bad one is unusable noise. This is the one category where cheap does not mean goldmine, it means broken. Buy a proven tracker used, or save until you can. Number 8, the fake tube warmth pedal. There is a whole family of pedals with a little glowing tube in a window, promising real tube warmth for your sterile solid-state rig. Here is what the marketing does not say. In most of these, the tube runs at a fraction of its intended voltage, contributing almost nothing to the sound except the glow. The circuit around it does the actual work, and the tube is, functionally, a lamp. You are paying for mood lighting. Real tube saturation is wonderful and real, and it lives in amps and in a small number of properly designed high-voltage pedals. The twinkly window on a $60 pedal is set dressing. If you cannot hear the difference with the window taped over, the window was the product. Number 9, the noise gate bought to fix a noisy rig. A noise gate has a real job, taming high-gain rigs on stage. But in the budget world, it gets sold as a cure. Your rig hums, buzzes, and hisses, so you buy a gate to make it shut up. That is treating a broken leg with a louder radio. The hum is coming from somewhere, a cheap daisy-chained power supply, an unshielded bass, a dying cable, a ground problem, and the gate just mutes the evidence between notes while eating your sustain and chopping your decay. Find the noise, do not gate it, which brings us directly to the biggest little scam on every beginner board. Number 10, the $10 daisy chain power supply. Here it is, the promised one. Not even a pedal, and it ruins pedals you already own. That flimsy wall wart with the squid cable powering 5 pedals at once is the single most common source of hum, hiss, whine, and mystery noise on beginner pedal boards. Digital pedals fight analog pedals over the same starving power line. Grounds loop, and suddenly you are back at number 9, buying a gate to silence a problem you installed yourself for $10. Clean, isolated power is the most boring purchase in the pedal world and one of the most audible. If you own more than 2 pedals, an isolated supply, and they exist at fair prices, is a better upgrade than any new pedal on this list. So those are the 10. And you might have noticed the pattern. It is the same one from the upgrades video. Pedals sold as solutions to problems you do not have, and pedals bought instead of diagnosing the problem you do have. Before any pedal purchase, the 3 questions still apply. Can I hear the problem right now? Is this a real fault or a sold feeling? And have I done the cheap things first? Now let me show you the 3 boxes that survive every one of those questions. Number 11, a proper tuner pedal. Boring, absolutely. And it is the only pedal that is on for 100% of every gig you will ever play. Always visible, always accurate, and it mutes your signal while you tune, which your audience appreciates more than any overdrive you will ever buy. A rock-solid industry-standard tuner costs about $40 used, lives on your board for the next 20 years, and never becomes furniture. Buy it before any effect. It is the most professional 100 grams on any pedal board. Number 12. The bass multi-effects unit from a real manufacturer. This is the one that replaces an entire pedal board for about $100. Companies like Zoom build compact bass multi-effects with dozens of genuinely usable effects, amp models, a tuner, a drum machine for practice, and headphone output for the price of one single mid-range pedal. Here is why this is the smartest first pedal purchase in existence. It is a laboratory. You get to try compression, octave, chorus, envelope filter, overdrive, everything for months and find out which 2 effects you actually reach for. Then, and only then, you buy those 2 as quality single pedals, if you still want to. The multi-effects unit does not just make sounds, it prevents the 36 dead pedals in my closet. That is worth double the price. Number 13, the used industry standard preamp DI. And for the player who actually gigs, the last piece, a bass preamp DI pedal, the kind that has been on 10,000 stage floors, bought used for about $100. Yes, in the upgrades video, I warned you about buying preamp pedals as a tone band-aid, and that warning stands. This is the opposite case. You gig, your strings are fresh, your setup is done, and you want your sound to arrive at any PA in any venue sounding like you. A battle-tested DI with your EQ dialed in is cheap insurance against every terrible backline amp on earth. And because these things are built like bricks and sold in huge numbers, the used market is full of them at half price. Diagnosed need, proven tool, used price. That is the whole philosophy of this channel in one purchase. So there is the map. 10 pedal traps, 3 boxes that earn their place. If you take one idea from this video, take this one. Pedals are the dessert of bass tone, not the meal. Hands, strings, setup, and amp are the meal, and no dessert fixes a bad dinner. Build your sound first, record yourself to find what is actually missing, and then buy the one pedal that fills that specific hole used from a proven maker. The players who do it in that order own 4 pedals and use 4. The players who do not own 40 and use 4. Tell me in the comments, honestly, how many pedals do you own? And how many are actually on your board right now? What is the biggest pedal regret in your closet, and which box genuinely earned its spot? Drop it below, because the best pedal advice comes from players comparing their graveyards, never from the demo videos. Everything is linked in the description, including the buyer's guide with a complete map. Subscribe for honest, no-hype truth about bass gear, and I would be genuinely glad to have you along for the ride.